Hello, my friends, my dear audiences. Welcome to the show East to West. Jack Chow is your host with G&E TV. We pay attention to energy too, not only to politics, but sometimes, energy is politics, right? So the concern is with the Iraqi situation getting worse and worse, from worse to worse by the minute, people's getting worried, the world getting condensed about energy safety. We're talking about our oil supplies. We're talking about our gasoline prices. We're talking about how are we looking at this summer, so on and so forth. So joining me and then to get to the professional answers to those questions is my good friend, Mr. Drexel Smith. Hello, Drexel. Welcome to my show.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Jack.
It's been a long time. Only it's been a too long time since I last had you here, right? How was the traveling all over the world? You were traveling all over the world, right?
Well, haven't done too much world travel recently, but life has been good. Mm-hmm. Life has been good.
You've been traveling South America for some time. And then you were one time.
Primarily Asia. The last few years.
Asia.
Yeah,
right,
primarily
good.
Asia.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, so.
South America is all about soccer right now.
Oh,
so
yeah,
football,
I know
football.
that. But I called you, that was about a month ago. You were down by the canal, right?
Yeah, just holiday.
Just holiday. And then about 2 weeks ago, you were in Hawaii.
Yep.
All right, good. You were everywhere. Mm-hmm. All right, good. For a person who is well-traveled, who's been doing the energy business, he's an energy expert. By the way, he's a super senior consultant for a China-U.S. energy project, and he still is. Questions are in profusion, but to start though. What is your take about the Iraq situation? Is it the consequences of war, or is it a lack of leadership, or is whatever? So what nature is that, please?
Very complex question.
I always do.
Yeah. My view is the situation in Iraq really began over 100 years ago.
All right.
When the United Kingdom began to parcel up and literally create countries, as opposed to following lines from tribal and religious sects. I think the Western naivete at the end of the War I Ottoman Empire breakup,
I see,
created countries that really didn't follow either religious or tribal orientations.
I see.
So you roll the clock forward for 75 years, and you have hard religious groups that go back several thousand years from Muhammad and his son and believers that follow.
Yes.
And some believe one way, some another way. So you have the Shiite, the Sunni, and the Kurds are the three predominant groups in a country we now call Iraq that haven't agreed in 100 years.
They've never been agreeing to each other.
Never. So my view is that Saddam Hussein and other big guerrilla dictators are the only kind of government that force these groups to exist. You with me? So you take away
coexistence.
Exactly. So you take away the dictator, and remember, Saddam Hussein was our friend
He was, yes.
when he was at war with Iran.
Even Bin Laden.
Okay? So you take him away, and what happens now is chaos.
All right.
You now have the religious groups that have armed themselves. You now have the Kurds that have taken the territory that they believe historically
All right.
is their area,
Uh-huh.
and similar with the Sunnis and the Shiites. And you have a government that we put in place that is not reaching out and bringing everybody together.
I see.
So I think the real hard question is, there's this belief that we're going to have and install a democracy. But not every country is capable of a democracy as we think of it.
Of course. There might be people who do not like democracy. Who
Well,
do
or
not want
democracy doesn't
democracy.
work because they don't get the same voice as somebody else. So my view of the world is, I see people in Iraq are like people everywhere. They want peace. They don't want war. But what they want is their voice. They didn't get a voice in the new government, which makes Iraq very open to the kind of chaos that we see today.
I see.
And I personally just simply read history, believe that we haven't seen the end to the chaos in Iraq.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I finally get you here to get the professional, thorough, profound analysis of that region, that area, from even from a point of a history ever started right now. The question is, second question is, just to get to the point, I'm not trying to make your day harder than, especially when it's a Friday though. Suppose it is a problem or a kind of problems that was started hundreds something years ago with the British lining them up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Or cutting them into pieces
Yes.
called countries. And it's been a problem ever since, going on and on. It's on a norm basis, right?
Exactly.
Okay, now, could it be better? Could it be better, the whole thing, the whole region, if we had not invaded?
Hard question.
Another hard one?
Hard question, because I think unanimously all of the Western world leaders believe that there was adequate evidence that Saddam Hussein had terrible weapons and had emotionally got himself into a position of using those weapons. It's my personal point of view that when we publicly announced that we were going to go into Iraq, is it any great surprise that we didn't find the weapons?
Of course we didn't.
Of course. You know, go look in Syria, go look in other places where you can find the tracks in the sand. I don't think the weapons ever went away. I think they got moved. That's my personal view, and I will carry that to the end. Now, was it smart for us to topple Saddam Hussein? I think many believe that he was a dictator that became personally so unstable that he was destabilizing the area. Where I have a problem, and I think that now historians are beginning to tell the story, that our previous leadership, President Bush and Vice President Cheney, didn't have a good plan for now you topple this dictator.
Yeah, of course.
What happens next?
Replacement.
They had this vision that the Iraqis would say, freedom, yes, new government, democracy, and all of a sudden, what we ended up was chaos.
They might say yes one hand, on the other they might say no. Problem is that if Saddam Hussein was the one exactly supposed to be ousted, What about a replacement plan?
Exactly.
Right?
There wasn't one.
And when we do things on even to our day-to-day life, when we want to deny something, we always have a plan B there to back up, which is very, very normal, which is to the common sense, right? And another thing to think about, it's a question to ask you, is that they kind of a balance there, even with a dictator, even with a demagogue, call him, right? Even with the worst guy of the worst kind ever, but he was the one who could balance the avalanche.
Well, and the counter argument is that he did it by tyranny. He did it by, if you don't love me, I'm going to kill you, sort of ideas. And his jails were full with political prisoners and torture. So I think that clearly Saddam Hussein was a bad guy. The question is, what do you do about it? We have dictators all over the world.
Is Korea the same thing?
You know, North Korea for sure.
Yeah, of course.
And there's countries all over the world that are managed by less than wonderful people. I think
less than wonderful. All right. I like that term.
I think the point is, Jack, one of my most favorite people in history is Winston Churchill. I think he was an incredibly marvelous, good-thinking person. But he was part of drawing maps and parceling up the Middle East. And there's a great quote about him saying, is it the Sunnis or the Shiites? I can't
remember.
I can't keep them separate.
All right.
And I think that displays an incredibly smart, knowledgeable, insightful world leader, maybe one of the best the world's seen throughout history.
He was the one time. Yes.
Was unclear of these different tribal sects and religious sects and how they interact, and the fact that they don't really respond to a central government. They respond to their tribal chiefs and their religious leaders.
All right, good. All right, that's the analysis that I am looking for. So hold on.